The Godfather defined how the world sees the Mafia, but how accurate is this classic saga to the real five families of New York? And which real-life bosses inspired Mario Puzo's infamous Don Vito Corleone? In 1969, Mario Puzo published The Godfather, chronicling the fictional Corleone family led by Don Vito Corleone. 3 years later, Francis Ford Coppola's film adaptation took the world by storm. Set in the late 1940s to mid-1950s, the story focuses on family patriarch Vito and his reluctant heir Michael as they navigate the underworld of organized crime. In reality, New York's five families, Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese, took shape following the bloody Castellamarese War of the early 1930s. Salvatore Maranzano reorganized the American Mafia, labeling each main group a family. Not long after, Lucky Luciano helped establish the Commission, a sort of underworld boardroom to mediate disputes and maintain order among the families. Generally, each real-life Mafia family was led by a boss, often called a Don, supported by an underboss, a consigliere, and various capos who oversaw crews of soldiers. Their income often came from gambling, loan sharking, narcotics, labor racketeering, and more. While The Godfather focuses on events from the Corleone family's point of view, sometimes giving the impression of one family against the rest, in reality, the five families of New York coexisted in a complicated dance of alliances and rivalries. Power balances could shift quickly, and cooperation or conflict between families often depended on profit and circumstance rather than a single ongoing feud. In The Godfather, Don Vito Corleone is portrayed as a benevolent patriarch. Harsh when necessary, but guided by a personal code of honor. He's reluctant to deal in narcotics, keeps a veneer of moral principle, and prizes loyalty and secrecy above all. This reflects the broader Mafia concept of omerta, silence in the face of outside scrutiny. But in reality, Dons like Carlo Gambino and Vincent the Chin Gigante sometimes paid lip service to a no-drugs policy, yet their families were indeed involved in narcotics. Frank Costello, dubbed the Prime Minister of the Underworld, maintained a more refined public persona, but certainly profited from rackets he publicly frowned upon. The blurred line between supposed principles and actual business often ran deep. In the story, the Corleones are a tight-knit Sicilian clan, with power passing smoothly from father to son. Michael's tragic arc, from war hero to ruthless boss, underscores the family's pull. Historically, some Mafia families indeed aim to keep leadership in the bloodline. Joseph Bonanno tried grooming his son, Salvatore Bill Bonanno, to take over. Yet in reality, violent power grabs were common, and relatives weren't always spared. Betrayals and backroom deals often overrode blood ties, illustrating just how cutthroat the real underworld could be. Coppola's film stages violence with dramatic flair, from the restaurant assassination of Sollozzo and McCluskey to the unforgettable baptism montage. Don Corleone's presence is semi-public. He's both feared and respected in the community. Real mob hits, though sometimes just as brutal, were typically more discreet. Mob bosses aimed to avoid public attention, with some notable exceptions, like the flamboyant John Gotti in later decades. Low-profile bosses, such as Carlo Gambino, managed to keep headlines to a minimum, rarely flaunting their power. The Corleones veil their illicit operations behind ostensibly legal businesses, like an olive oil import company. While real mobsters definitely used restaurants, trucking firms, and construction businesses as fronts, they also heavily infiltrated labor unions, particularly the Teamsters, siphoning pension funds and extracting kickbacks. The Godfather touches on Hollywood union disputes but doesn't fully delve into the extensive infiltration of major labor markets that sustained organized crime for decades. Puzo's story and Coppola's cinematography deliver a heightened, almost Shakespearean portrayal of gangster life, infusing the Corleones with a deep sense of family loyalty and personal honor. In real life, many Mafia dealings were purely transactional. Betrayals were alarmingly common. The Corleones' reluctance to dive into narcotics is a central plot point. But by the 1940s and 50s, mob families had been running drug operations for years. The idea of a noble gangster was largely a myth, shaped partly by Hollywood's need for a compelling central hero, or anti-hero. According to various accounts, Vito Corleone was never based on just one mob boss, but rather an amalgam of several. One figure often cited is Frank Costello, known for his sophisticated manner and political connections. His willingness to solve conflicts through negotiation rather than raw violence mirrored Vito's calm diplomacy. Another likely influence was Carlo Gambino, who maintained a low profile despite holding significant power, akin to Vito's calculated behind-the-scenes style. Even real-life stories about the generosity of certain bosses, like dispensing favor and aid to the local community, found their way into Puzo's fictional Don. By blending elements from multiple bosses, Puzo crafted a character that felt authentic, yet more principled than most actual gangsters, a reflection of the Don the public wanted to believe in. In the end, The Godfather captures a mythic allure, an old-world sense of honor and family drama that transcends mere crime stories. Real New York Mafia families were often grittier, more fragmented, and more profit-driven than Puzo's compelling saga might suggest. The genius of both Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola was weaving raw historical threads into a larger-than-life tapestry, forever coloring how we imagine organized crime in America. So, was Don Vito Corleone the ultimate portrait of a gangster patriarch, or just a romanticized composite? The truth, as always, is somewhere in between.
Godfather.